Good morning from the WhatsUp News Network, broadcasting from Panama City Beach, Florida, the home of the world's most beautiful beaches. Bring you a little of the news this morning. I get a report every morning about condo activity. We had 10 reports this morning. 6 of those were new listings coming on the market. 4 were price reductions on condos that were already on the market. The story on the coronavirus this morning, we have had a total of 97 confirmed cases. Only 13% of those confirmed cases required hospitalization, and we have had 3 fatalities. Memorial Day, we opened the beaches up. This was after the Panama City Beach Commission and the Bay County Commission submitted a safety plan to Governor DeSantis, and he approved it. And so the beaches were open up on Memorial Day, and we had more people here than I think anybody anticipated. I certainly didn't, and I don't think our law enforcement anticipated the crowds that we would have. It is reported that it was one of the largest groups coming to Panama City Beach on Memorial Day in our history. Unfortunately, we had some gathering of crowds, and we had some incidents. We had a couple of fights. The Panama City Beach Commission and the mayor addressed those issues at Thursday's meeting. The mayor made a statement that anyone coming to Panama City Beach and that did not want to follow the law would soon find themselves in jail, and they would be prosecuted. In addition to that, Chief Drew Whitman told the commission that he would have 40 additional officers working at night, and they would have use of the Sheriff's Department helicopters to spot crowds if they did try to gather up, and they would be dispersed immediately. If they didn't disperse, then they would be arrested. The commission also took up the issue about some of our concerts and activities during the summer, and they will allow concerts and events if those events and concerts provide a safety plan and present that to the commission for their approval. If it's approved, then they would be allowed to have the events as long as they maintain social distancing and wore masks and had other safety features there at the event. The commission also took up an issue where I think there were a number of residents of Panama City Beach complained that they did not have parking spaces so they could enjoy the beach. So the commission is going to designate 3 parking areas, one on Churchwell Drive, one on Thomas Drive, and the other is on Richard Jackson Drive. So they will issue parking passes or stickers for residents who are residents of Panama City Beach to park in those areas. Wanted to talk to you a little about insurance costs because this is becoming a big issue now. 2 years ago we went through Hurricane Michael. Some buildings and some homes, the owners are still having issues with their insurance companies. There are some changes probably coming about in the insurance policies, and you need to be aware of them and watch for them so that you know exactly what coverage you have. The insurance companies use a lot of criteria to determine what they charge you for the policy, what you're getting covered, what your deductible is, where the property is located is very important here because a lot of our properties are in the flood zone. Also, the type of construction you have. Does it meet the present building code? You also need to look for in your policies, see if you have Ordinance of Law coverage. Now, a lot of our residents got hammered because of this. And if you have coverage for ordinance of law, means if the county or city changes their building codes and you have coverage, then you get paid to bring it up to the new standards. If you don't have that, the government's going to require you to rebuild your structure at the present building codes. And if you don't have ordinance of law, you will not be covered. So take a look at that. Also, you need to remember that flood insurance covers water that's rising. It doesn't cover maybe forced rain that enters your structure. Maybe winds are high enough to loosen the roof or high enough to knock shingles off and you get leaks inside your house. Your flood insurance will not cover that. So you need to make sure that you've got wind insurance, you've got coverage from water damage from several different things. You have water damage from floods, that's rising water. You also could have damage from water from wind forcing the water into your structure. You can also have damage from water from within the structure. If your dishwasher or your hot water tank or a toilet or something malfunctions and all of a sudden you have water damage in your home. This can really be expensive and damage. And if you're in a condominium and say you're on a high floor and your unit leaks and damages not only your unit but other units. Now, Florida does have a law that covers that type of damage where unless you have been totally negligent, then each unit owner has to take care of the damage in their unit. And then if they turn the right to sue over to their insurance company, and if the insurance company sees it as feasible to bring a suit, they could bring a suit against you. But to speed up repair of damage in condominiums, if one unit leaks down into other units, they're requiring the insurance on each unit cover that so they can get the units back in shape, and then the insurance companies can handle whatever action they decide to go with. So check out your insurance policies very close. And this is brought to our attention because next week we begin hurricane season. We usually don't have any strong storms until later on in the season, around August, September, and then of course when Michael came to see us, it was on October. So we need to be prepared. Make sure if you're going to stay here during a storm that you have adequate supplies. I want to talk to you a little bit about pending home sales. And this comes from what the National Association of Realtors calls this is the Pending Home Sale Index. And an article that was published by the National Association of Realtors chief economist Lawrence Yom said that during the past months we have had in the index the pending home sale index nationwide was down 21.8%. The Northeast suffered the worst because they had 48.2% of home sales down, and the Midwest had 15.9% down. The South, our area, was the lowest in lost home sales. We only had 15.4%, and then the West of the United States, they had 20%. So Mr. Young believes that because of the strong foundation that we have in home sales and the real estate market, before the crisis that we should rebound very quickly. There is still a shortage of housing across the country, and anytime we have a shortage, that keeps the price up. If you see that happening in, say, our area, so far we have about 11,000 condominium units on the beach, and we have about 700 on the market, and about 400 of those are on the water, on the Gulf. So our market is still very strong. It's we have about 100 more units than we had before the COVID-19, but we're still in a very strong market, and it looks like we'll probably stay there. We're showing property every day, and there appears to be a lot of buyers. We haven't had a lot of panic selling. We've had a few cases, but for the most part, everybody is holding in there. And if they do that, then the prices will hold. If we should have a lot of people decide to sell the market, of course, that the more you have on the market causes the market to go down. One thing that's very encouraging is mortgage rates. On the 30-year home loan, the mortgage rates yesterday were 3.15%. That's the lowest that it's ever been since Freddie Mac started keeping records on this in 1971. So we know it's the lowest interest rate since 1971. So 3.15 for a 30-year mortgage. That's really fantastic, and makes it easy for people to acquire a home if they're interested in doing that. For the past few months, we've heard some terms like unprecedented. I don't know how many times I've heard that on the television. Everybody is talking about this virus, and this shutdown is unprecedented. We've never had anything like it before. And of course, even as old as I am, I've never seen anything like it. And I don't think most everybody living has seen anything like it. Not even during the Depression, I don't think it was like this. So we've seen that term. We've also heard the term, we're all in this together. Well, I don't know if that is supposed to give us some comfort, but I don't know that just because I'm in a crisis, I want everybody else to be in there with me. If I wanted somebody to be there with me, I'd want the Lord Jesus Christ to be there, because he said he'd be with us always, and I expect him to be there with us. And so there's no point in having fear. We should be approaching this with no fear if you know the Lord Jesus Christ. There's also a statement that I've heard an awful lot. This is usually coming from doctors or scientists, and the public be asking them a question. They say, "Oh, that's a great question." Well, now I think it's time we get some great answers about everything. And of course, I can't blame the scientists and the doctors, because their estimates and their models weren't correct, because this was something that was, like we say, unprecedented. So we have learned how to do some things a little bit different now. We've learned how to, of course, I think I wash my hands quite often, but since this virus has been going around, even though I'm not afraid of it, I'm not stupid enough not to take precautions. So I wash my hands so much I can't wear my rings most of the time because it's irritated from the soap. So we've learned how to operate from home. We've learned how to keep distance when a virus is going around, and even after COVID-19 is gone, we're still going to have viruses every year that's going to come around, cause problems for us, and especially cause problems for some that are elderly and some that have underlying health conditions. So we need to be careful, not only to protect ourselves, but we need to protect others from this virus and other viruses that might come our way. I can, we hear that we're going to get through this, and we will. And I've seen. I'm not originally from Bay County or Panama City Beach. I've been living here since I retired in 2004. I had been coming down here for many years before that, and had been investing in property back around 94, 95. But the folks down here and the investors and people who own property down here, they're really pretty tough. They've been through a lot in the last few years. We had the recession back around 2005. We had the BP oil spill. We really didn't have any oil here, but the news media thought it would be a better story if they pretended we did, and so they managed to ruin the economy down here for that summer in 2010 because of their reports, and they just couldn't find any oil. We had people walking up and down the beaches. BP had hired crews to walk the beach trying to find tar balls, and they couldn't find them. So we were very fortunate in that we didn't have it, but we had misfortune because the media just destroyed our economy trying to get a story which was totally false. Then we had Michael come to visit us in 2018, and that destroyed pretty much Bay County and Panama City Beach. More destruction was in town than was on the beach. And the other counties that adjoined us to the north and to the east were hit hard. And they haven't all recovered yet. One of the biggest problems that we have right now, even though the complexes that we rent down here, the condominiums and the houses on the Panama City Beach, are pretty much fixed up. All the damage has been repaired. The big problem we had last year was that we didn't have enough support personnel. We didn't have enough people to work in the condominiums. We didn't have enough people to work in the restaurants, and it was very difficult. I suspect that we may have that problem now as we're beginning to get back up to full strength. There had been a lot of house building going on in the past 2 years, and I think that the housing's going to be relieved quite a bit for the workers. They'll have some place to stay. But with Congress and their wisdom, and they're trying to provide income for people, they have agreed to pay people more than what they would have earned while they were working. So a lot of people might be hesitant coming back to work if they're making more money by not working. But we will see that once the restaurants get up to full steam and start back taking 100% occupancy, where now they're only about 50% occupancy. And but we do have a problem with having enough support personnel to operate the restaurants and the condominiums and all the recreational activities and all that we have here on the beach. So we're hoping that we will get through this, and I believe we will. These people down here are very strong. They get knocked down, but they get right back up, and they're good people. I can just imagine about what might happen 10 years from now. I can just imagine that a 9-year-old boy comes up to his dad and says, "Dad, why is my sister named Paris?" And the dad says, "Well, son," said, "your mother and I were on vacation in France, and Paris was conceived there. And that's the reason we named her after that great city, Paris. And the dad said, Is that the only question that you have, Quarantine? So with that, I think we will get by. We're going to have these memories. Some of them may have names associated with it, but we will get by. We will recover. And people will always want to come to these beautiful beaches. They have such a great time. We want everybody to come down and enjoy it. We'd love to see our visitors. They pay for the activities down here. We love to see them. We want them to be safe. And remember that this is such a beautiful place, but they also some risky things that go on here, and you need to be very careful and make sure that you enjoy your vacation and then you go back home safe. So that's all the news for today. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in.